Well, thanks, Jess. Appreciate everybody coming to our webinar, How to Improve Creativity and Impact Innovation, a special presentation just for idea scale client organizations. I have become a partner with Idea Scale after I got a chance to use the platform, after I got a chance to meet some of the people that were using it, after a chance I got to meet the company behind it. I really saw an opportunity for collaboration. And so I believe it was November of last year, Jess, we officially partnered up. And now that is an Idea Scale Gold Badge partner, helping to improve creativity on the world's largest innovation platform. So that's kind of how we get here today. My name is Kevin Popovich. I am the idea guy. I do have the license plate to prove it. Funny story about this, the day I got my license plate, I was pulling up to a red light, somebody honks, goes next to me, says, pull over, beep, beep. I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, are you the idea guy? I'm like, yeah. He goes, can I tell you my idea? Right? So ever since I have adopted this moniker, people have treated me to some degree as the Dr. Phil, or I guess Dr. Ruth, depending on the problems you have at work, of ideas. I really embrace the idea guy moniker, and I think it really is representative of what I do, which we'll get to shortly. For context and for background, i.e. how does one become the idea guy? My background is, my undergrad's communications and psych, my master's is in multimedia technologies, my doctoral studies are in instructional technologies, which is one of the reasons I was so attracted to the Idea Scale platform. My professional experience is 30 years with a creative agency called Idea House. I'm the inaugural director at the Zip Idea Lab, the Idea Center of San Diego State University, also the Zahn Chair of Creativity and Innovation. Thank you very much. I was responsible for building the Idea Lab at San Diego State, which serviced 42,000 students, administrators, and students. The work that I did at San Diego State was featured in Alaska Airlines magazine as the model for teaching design thinking. And I am often on stage talking about all things creative, including my TEDx presentation, How Creativity Can Change the World, One Bad Drawing at a Time. I write books on complex things around creating engagement. In fact, I specifically wrote one about creating engagement in the classroom using technology. My current book, How to Be the Idea Guy, the how-to guide for creating ideas to solve problems, is my latest effort, and I am proud to be collaborating with Jessica as the idea gal. So I lead the conversations around creativity. She leads the conversations around innovation, and in the middle we get to, there she is, systemic creativity. So I share that again for context, right? I know a lot about the stuff we're gonna talk about. And, but what I really do is three things, right? I help people improve their creativity. I facilitate innovation for teams, and I help leaders solve problems that they haven't been able to solve by themselves. Okay. So as we get started, warning, learning ahead. There's a lot of information, right? So I promised to give you certain information. I'm going to give you that and more. But I want you to understand too that that there's going to be some academic stuff in here. There's going to be some business stuff in here. There's going to be some creative stuff in here. But all of it is going to help you figure out how to make a positive change in the people that you're inviting to your programs and how you make your programs more successful. So if you will agree to hang in there with me to the end of my program, I promise you I will be able to prove the value of doing so. Okay. So as we get started here, and as I do in my workshops, kind of stop, check in, set your phones on stun. I know everybody likes to multitask, but I'm going to ask you to kind of be present, right? Because I'm watching you, my video. Be present in this, right? Take all the information, think about it, sketch while you're thinking and drawing and processing all this stuff, and invest the next 45 minutes or close thereof. Depending on where your bets are and when I get out of this, about just being better about this, because you have this responsibility to lead innovation, to use this platform to get the most out of it, I'm going to help you be better at it. Okay. You ready, Jess?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. And again, if anybody wants to turn their webcam on so we can kind of hang out face to face, I encourage people to click in that little button. Right. So I want to get started with a story about creativity and innovation, specifically a class that I taught at San Diego State called MGT 353, Creativity and Innovation. So I've been an adjunct professor at a couple universities. And I've done a lot of business training. I got offered the position of teaching creativity and innovation in the School of Management at San Diego State. I got this syllabus and I got this book, and they're like, teach this class. I'm like, okay. So I start digging into the syllabus, right, to understand the purpose of the class. That's what a syllabus does, right? And I was really intrigued by what I was reading. And I'm sharing literally what I got here. Creativity and innovation are integral to an organization's ability to survive and thrive in today's competitive marketplace. I knew this. This course provides students with an understanding of how creativity and innovation can be facilitated and managed in a work setting. All right, so this is where like the jokes started coming in, because for 30 years I've been a creative guy. We used to make fun of business people all the time trying to do our job. So now this class was me trying to teach business people how to be creative. Insert jokes here. But the business side of me was very interested in learning more. So when you look at the student learning outcomes, i.e. what the student's able to do successfully completing the class, right? They're able to explain the influence of problem-solving techniques, team processes, and environmental conditions on creativity in organizations, describe the innovation process, including the innovation value chain, the role of champions, and commercializing and innovation, i.e. making money, right? They're able to explain the process involved in managing creativity or innovation effectively and apply this knowledge to your own creative idea or innovation. Analyze an organizational practice that facilitates creativity and innovation, and develop a case study analysis tool, i.e. I can read something and tell you why it worked or why it didn't work. So this was horribly interesting to me, right? Because I'm a business owner. I work with C-suite for a long time trying to do this. And now there's this book in this course that's teaching this. So yeah, I had a lot of experience, but I didn't know what was inside, and I sure wasn't ready for what I learned. So I took a look at the syllabus and what the other teachers were doing, and I put together a step-by-step process to teach creativity and innovation that fulfilled the syllabus, right? Because I remember being in classes that had the potential to be really awesome classes, and they weren't. And I have a very unique set of skills in the classroom, and it just so it had to make sense to me too. How was I going to do this? So this is what this thing looks like, right? So week by week, which is a 2-hour and 40-minute class. All right, and this is kind of, I want you to understand the numbers here. As those of you who are trying to figure out how much time do you have to put into making change in the people within your organization. I had 16 classes at 2 hours and 40 minutes per class. And I broke down each class into what I was going to do with them to get them successfully to come out the other end and being able to do the trick. Right, at one end of the process, I had a business person who knew nothing about nothing. And at the other end, I had to get him to stand up and says, this is my idea, and this is what I think, okay? So when you look at everything in here, in which I can show you ad nauseum, there's so much, I really found these were the things that make a difference, right? And this is what I want you to pay attention. This is one of those, like, screenshot this one, because this is the one that you want to look at. And you want to ask yourself, how many of these are you doing, right? So in the classroom, obviously I'm the instructor, lecturer, professor, whatever the terminology you want to use. I have a classroom environment. I have attendance, which means people have to show up and go through the program, right? You got to show up for something good to happen. You have to have a syllabus, which shows your plan. You have to have a lecture because people need to learn. But you also have to have a discussion because people have questions and they want to talk about stuff until it makes sense. Now you have to do surveys because not everybody's going to tell you the truth in an open discussion. You have to have games because it's fun, media to make it interesting. And you have to bring in other people besides the instructor to either share other perspectives or to reinforce what the instructor says. Right? You have to share stories because people love stories and it's a way for them to make sense. You have to have excursions or field trips. They have to go do things. And you have to have assignments, and there has to be a quiz on the assignment to make sure that they did it right. And then you have to have projects because they have to be able to apply what they learned. And there needs to be an evaluation on that project to tell them how they did and for you to know you were able to make change. Okay. So these were the things over 16 weeks that I found helped people be more creative. And I can prove it. Right. So I looked at the data points in my classes. All right. And there's 7 semesters, 12 classes, more than 600 students. And I measured it at weeks 1, 8, and 16 using a creative profile. And then I have some other data points, attendance, engagement, response rates and things like that, that help fill in my other blanks. And this is what I learned. On day 1, when I asked somebody, how creative are you and what are your special powers, right? That's about where all they started. And then over those 5 weeks, I gave them knowledge and I let them to ask questions. And each week they got a little better. Now, I measured again using the same tool on week 8. And I found out that the big lift that I got was in them being able to apply what they learned to a project they cared about. Right? Now, over time, after week 8, they got to collaborate with other people now. Right now, I'm talking to other, I think that too. No, I think this is different. And they got to work on a group project, and they got another lift when the group succeeded, met the goals, and then finally they were tested at the end, i.e. a final exam, and they scored well on it, and that gave them that outside and objective affirmation that I am creative. All right? So the learning that I want you to take away from here is that, that this stuff works, right? And then here's the quantitative. By far the best teacher I encountered in the US. Thank you very much. Never a dull moment. KP's a solid teacher. He keeps the classroom engaged and the lessons upbeat. And the best comment I got was the best part about this class is that it helped me develop the creative side that I never knew that I had. Right. And this is all from Rate My Professor. You can find the one kid on there that really didn't like my class either. It kind of torched me. But overall, I think I'm like, I've got like a 4.5 out of 5 or something. And this is students' unsolicited stuff. But that last statement, right, helped me develop the creative side that I never knew that I had, was one of the best reasons that I taught this class. And the data points that I have proved that what I felt, what I saw, was actually working. So with that, Jess, I'd like to just see if there's any questions on this class and what it took to get people to be more creative. I mean, is this stuff that you see, Jess, in your organization?
I think that that's like definitely a key opportunity. I think a lot of people don't invest in training. I think when we did the survey last year, the results were less than 10% of our customers had invested in any sort of training to help their employees, be able to come up with ideas that they felt confident in. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a lot of learning from this class. And if anybody's got questions, please feel free to use the Q&A functionality in here. And Jessica, let me know if anything pops up.
We're watching them.
Yep. And then and we'll just keep moving it fun. But there's a lot of lessons to be learned. So as I said earlier, there's more learning to be had. We're going to build on this that help set a direction for how you can make changes within your company. All right. So
we did have one person ask, like, they want more of the details of the curriculum that would work in the workplace.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what you're going to lead into now.
Yep, that's what we're going to. Thank you for asking. All right. So now this is part of the audience participation part, right? We're going to get into a quick exercise, and I would like everybody at home, including you, Jessica, to take out a sheet of paper, a Post-it, and anything. Take out a pen and draw your friend's face. If your friend is not next to you, pick a friend on Facebook or your bestie, and draw their face. You have 60 seconds. Please begin. I'm drawing your face, Jessica.
Oh my goodness.
Boom, boom. All right, pencils down. I know it's not exactly 60 seconds. Jessica, all right, now, so now I want you to share your work with your friend. If you have sketches on something, take a picture of it and text it to your friend. You have to play my game. You can email it to somebody. You can post it on social media, but you have to share it with your friend. Jessica, this is how I did with you today. You look lovely.
I was happy, right?
Always smiling, right? And can we see your picture over there, Jess?
Well, I forgot to bring paper, so I used my phone.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see my,
yeah, a little
but
closer.
I'll be able to text it to them directly.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, that's awesome. I hope the rest of you played your game. If anybody would like to share their picture or drawing or anything, I think you can post it into the chat, right? Do they have the ability to do that?
I don't know if we can post imagery into the chat, but that might be something that we can share afterwards. If people want to send them to me, I can do a share out after the webinar as well.
All right. So I hope some of you have played the game because there is always a purpose to my game, right? So I want to know, right, how many people felt anxious when I asked you to draw your friend's face, right? Most people, like when we do this live and you get the audience reaction, as soon as I tell them they have to draw their friend's face and begin, all you start hearing is like sighs and gasp and chuckles, right? Because most people aren't very confident in their creativity, right? How many people apologize before they even started if you're sitting next to somebody, right? Many people do, right? And then often people even go into the details, Jessica, about why people aren't able to draw. Right? So there's some really interesting statistics around this. And this fun game is one of the ways that I'm able to demonstrate the statistics that I show. Right? Studies showed 98% of kids age 5 test as divergent thinkers, meaning that they can come up with a bunch of ideas in a short amount of time on a bunch of unrelated subjects. Right? That same study shows that only 2% of adults age 25 test as divergent. Right? So the question is, what happened to our creativity? Okay? Let's keep doing that. Think about it for a minute. What happened to your creativity? Now, I'm going to play another game on that same piece of paper, or the other side of that piece of paper. Draw something from your childhood. Okay, take a moment, think back when you were a kid. Your favorite, you had a puppy, or you had a favorite doll, or you had something else, and draw something from your childhood. You have 60-ish seconds. Please begin.
Ah, there we go.
Boom, boom. Thank you for playing the game. Pencils down, hold up your picture. What do you got, Jess? Can we see your picture?
I just lost it. But it was, I can't show you what I've just wrote on, which is like, it was supposed to be a mouse.
All right, I got you.
But there you go.
Yeah, I used to draw dragons, right? So this is something for my kid. I'm a horrible dragon drawer, but here's my bad drawing. Okay, so again, if anybody can share their stuff, of course, you have to share your stuff. Share your stuff with your friend. And then you wanted to, and the difference on this is I want you to ask them to guess what it is. Okay. And again, there's always a purpose to my games. So I please say, can you guess what it is? Hey, here's my bad drawing. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Can you guess what it is? Right. And congratulations, you have successfully communicated an idea with a bad drawing. And that's all you're doing. It's like most people aren't professional artists, right? But most people have hang-ups about sketching stuff, right? And the reason that sketches are so important is because it helps us communicate things that are in our mind that words can't, right? So I try to encourage people to get over this phobia that they have and start sketching things. And sketching things could be a process, it could be a structure, it could be a customer journey, it could be a bunny, it could be anything. But by breaking down these phobias and doing so in a group environment, we find that we normalize bad drawings and that people get past that embarrassment and it starts building their confidence. So then every time that you can guess what I'm doing, that's a confidence builder, right? So that's what we're trying to really communicate with these exercises. And I want our audience to participate in them so they have that same feeling as a piece of proof that these things will make change for us, okay? Now, there's some learning about our creative experience, right? I asked you to think about when you were a kid because I want you to think about when we were kids, right? So when you go back to a kid, right, you draw everything that you could imagine. And everything was awesome because you're like, it just made sense. Like, oh, but this is here, it's a rainbow, and this blah, 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 blah. And it didn't look anything like it, right? But in your mind, it was perfect, right? And then remember when you shared it with your mother, what happened? She's like, oh, Jessica, that's so pretty. And you got praise, right? And then what does your mom do with it? Put it on the refrigerator. Now you got recognition, right? And then your dad comes home and says, oh, honey, look what Jessica drew for us today. And your dad's like, what the heck is that? And he slaps him. That's a pony, right? Like, oh, that's great, Jess. That's a beautiful pony. You got positive reinforcement. And then you did what? You made one for dad and then dad, build your confidence. Here's dad, here's one for you too, right? And it was awesome, right? But then we go to school. I remember what happens when you get at school. You take your creative confidence and you show up with other kids that did great on the refrigerator in their house as well, right? But now things are a little different, right? Your teacher is telling you, Jessica, you need to stay on the paper. So you have directions. And you're like, Jessica, you need to stay inside the lines. Now there's criteria. Jessica, you got to be on this, right? Now there's evaluation. And then all of a sudden, you're just not as confident as you used to be, right? And then you get people telling you that like, I like Billy's picture better, right? And then that's negative reinforcement. And then you have people that are saying, well, you're not very good at this. Now you get peer pressure. And then ultimately you get a bad grade because they're assigning points and now there's consequences to your creativity. And people over time, it's just not as fun as it used to be in the pony business, man. Now you're a sad pony, right? And you go find something else to do besides be creative. You go to sports, you go to academics, you find science, right? You do something, but you really kind of stop being creative. Right? Does this ring true anywhere along your journey, Jessica?
I think so. And what's interesting too, somebody was sent in their question a little after the Q&A section that was talking about your class and asking them, were you trying to get people to be an inside the box thinker or an outside the box thinker? And this is really kind of about both of those, right?
It is, right? It's really just about building confidence at first, right? Because I think there's confidence leads to participation, participation leads to engagement, that leads to like knowledge and experience and wisdom over time. And there's going to be different types of people that contribute along the way. And I think really as we look to our audience and what we're trying to do is open innovation, everybody's got to be invited. Everybody has to be able to participate. Okay. So let's move forward about why creativity is important, right? Because there's a lot of opportunities and implications, right? Why are creative people good? Right. Well, creativity is good because it improves language proficiency and performance. Remember, you're investing in staff and people to do different things. This makes people better. It builds analytical skills and critical thinking. It helps develop a correlation to entrepreneurial efforts. And it tests as generating positive mood swings. People feel better when they're able to do divergent thinking. That bigger could be this, could be this. Where it's interesting that there is negative mood swings when you have to do convergent thinking. Now, when you have to focus and pick on something, right, that becomes the first one. Divergent to me is play, right? Convergent is work. People like to play. They don't like to work, right? So, but there is the ability to rebuild your creative muscle. There are things that you can do to regain, to move from that 2% back towards that 98%. And that's a lot of what some of those things are what I want to share with our participants today. There are some stuff that you can easily implement immediately that will impact creativity. So one of the things is exposing people to new ideas. right? New places, new things. Carry a personal sketchbook. You know, it's just the fashion of the day to have some little something on here, right? That, you know, you develop, you know, that you write, you take notes and you do this and you scribble and glue things to it. And I'm trying to get to like a really interesting page, but even just stuff like this, right? Just carry a book around. And when you think of something, you write stuff in the book because it'll be there when you come back to look at it, right? Use your phone to create a visual library, right? Everybody has their phone with them all the time, right? So besides just taking selfies, right? Take pictures like, that's a cool building. I like that puppy. That makes me think of this, right? And then reference that over time. Sketch in meetings, sketch at your desk, sketch at work, sketch. You know, it's about helping people make change, right? And you got to change some things up. You need to have some different influence. Now, one of the things that I share in my workshop about changing mindset, and I use these wristbands, it's to help people think about the things they need to do. And the first one is the red one, which is, which you can probably read better on my slide. It's about suspending judgment, right? When we come into problems, we need to be like, you can't be like, it'll never work, we're all gonna die. Well, nobody likes to work with that person, man. And it's really about potential. So you need to suspend judgment, right? We need to, challenge our knowledge, because a lot of times we know too much stuff, especially, you know, if you're a smarty pants company with a smarty pants title, right? Well, you know a bunch of stuff. That could be a detriment at times. We need to increase our observation, pay attention to things that you quit paying attention to, or start paying attention to things you never paid attention to before. And then ultimately, you're just really trying to improve your creativity. Just try harder, sketch more, you know, it's okay to mess up, you know, because it's not about being right. It's about finding the right answer. And this is how you can become the idea guy. So I thought that would be helpful, right? So one bad drawing can change your world. And then we are going to do another quick exercise, Jessica, and I can't wait to see what you draw on this. So get your pens and papers or your digital tools ready. The assignment is draw a picture of your job in the future. Think about how you do your job today, the environment in which you do so, and what might that look like in the future? Is it the same? Is it different? You have 60 seconds-ish. Please begin. This is probably better. All right, wrap up your drawings. I know we're short you on a little bit of time, but please, Jess, can we see your picture? What have you got going on?
This is me working from a desk with a view of the beach out the window.
That's awesome. That's kind of like where I'm at right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Possible.
here, I'll share one of these. This was a bad drawing that I did. It was a little more complex. It took me slightly more than 60 seconds, but it's kind of representative, and it just has some different tools and blah, blah, blah around it, right? So, of course, no drawing is a bad drawing if it helps communicate the things that we want to see in the future. So congratulations, you are a visionary, right? So because what your drawing is doing, it's applying your knowledge and your thinking and your experience to say, this is how something might look, right? So these little drawings too, I want you to think about, if you don't draw very often, how did you feel on this third drawing compared to your first drawing? And what I found in my class is that if we keep doing that, people draw more, they get better at it, they get past that phobic mindset, and they get into a much productive, and they can eventually stand up in front of anybody with a bad drawing and say, let me explain my idea to you, which is what that drawing component allows you to do, okay? So Are we seeing any questions? I'm seeing something blinking. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything.
Well, I think it's a good question. Who is the guy behind you, Kevin? Is he auditing the Slack?
Come on in, Ed. All right, so everybody, let me introduce you to Ed Quinlan. He's my partner. Come on up, Ed. You get to see him. So he's my partner. Ed's specialty is change management, right? So Ed and I started working. Jessica, actually, Ed and I worked on a project together. And then I introduced Idea Scale, and Ed saw the vision for using the platform at Community Health Improvement Partners, which is kind of how we ended up coming down to the conference, Jessica. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And
so Kevin's the creative one. I'm the business person. The applications of how we put it to business use. One of the things I was sharing with Kevin this morning. Companies spend a tremendous amount of time on the how they're going to solve problems. The Idea Scale platform really helps you with the who. And the who is really a critical part to the actual execution and implementation of the work. So that's how I compliment KP. That's why I'm here. And I appreciate everybody being on.
Yeah.
Back to you, KP.
Well,
Hey, we have
I think.
Go ahead, please, Jess.
I was just about to introduce that question though, because I think it kind of goes along really well with like how you felt doing the first drawing to how you do feel now. And it's about how critical is psychological safety to enable creativity, and how do you establish that quickly in a classroom or a meeting?
Yeah, Michael, it's a very critical component. You know, it's something that I established the first day. Ground rules, boundaries, code conduct, ramifications for failure to behave appropriately. Because they have to feel like it's an okay place. You have to look at who's in the room, who isn't in the room, and you have to lead by example. You know, so that's why often, a lot of, my brand by design is very approachable, and it tends to demystify and unintimidate people to be able to engage in the stuff that I do, right? Because like, for instance, if I came in as like a big agency, then people are like, oh my God, they are here at this big entity. But, I get to just show them as a guy that likes people and wants to play games, and I'm here to help people. So I'm able to do that quickly in a room as that single person, Michael. I think that's an opportunity for each of us to be able to do in our own environment to the best of our ability. Because if people don't feel safe, they're never going to open up. And I can tell you story after story about kids who like hid out in the back of my class. I can tell you about directors who hid out in the back of corporate training classes because they just didn't feel like, man, this isn't for me, right? I can tell you CXOs who hid out because they didn't want to seem like they didn't want to seem old. They didn't want to seem irrelevant. There's a whole and everybody's scared. That's what I'm going to tell you. Everybody through your org chart has got some kind of hang up or a scary thing about raising their hand and saying, this is what I think, and when you create that environment, and I was usually able to hit that, Michael, by like week 5, like week 4, like you always get some early adopters where you want to come in week 2, week 3, and and they're doing stuff, a little bit to show off, but a lot of them are comfortable already. And then you see other masses coming, but like when you get that one that just was quiet the whole time, and he or she finally raises their hand and they're as awesome as you thought they could be, then you really did a great job in that environment. Okay. All right, we got more learning. Let's talk about work real quick, and then we're going to go into the innovation stuff. Think about what you're doing at work, Michael. Great transition for me. Thank you. Think about the job titles and the descriptions that we give people. Right? If you're in the accounting department, are you expected to be creative? No, they frown on creativity in accounting, right? It's about compliance. If you're in the marketing department, yes. Or if you're in product development, most likely, right? We are already telling people when they show up at our organization, you are creative, you are not creative. Supervisors in that hierarchy reinforcement, the department labels that they're in, reinforces that. And often within an organization, who's getting recognized? People who are making money, right? Not people who came in with good ideas or tried harder, right? And then those are the people that are getting rewarded. So a lot of what we're doing in our workplace is prohibiting, it's communicating you are not creative. It's prohibiting people from feeling like they're a part of something. I'm not in that group. I'm not in that department. And what's in it for me? Like, why should I try to do anything that's not on my job description, right? Because all my boss is worried about is compliance. Did I do my job, right? And my job description says nothing about being creative. Yet we keep trying to ask people to be more creative, right? So think about how you can build creativity work, and think about, back to our list of what I learned works in our classroom, which of this could make sense at your organization? Right? Who's the instructor at your organization? It's usually going to be somebody who would ask, Jessica, we may ask, who owns innovation in your company? A lot of times that, do you have an answer? Don't you have an answer? Is it formal? Is it informal? But somebody's got to be that go-to person, and they have to be accessible. Right? You need to have some sort of classroom environment, right? Whether it's a room, that you designate your idea lab, or whether it's idea scale, where you log in. That's your ability, that's your classroom. You have to have attendance. People have to show up, right? So how can you get people to show up? How can you communicate what's in your program like a syllabus does, right? How are you sharing information out, whether it's a lecture or a lunch and learn or something? And how are you facilitating discussions around that? How are you using these different tools to make a change in your organization? And this is where I think that this slide is really important, Jessica, because I think it starts getting people to understand the ingredients. Now, the trick will be making the right recipe for their situation and their organization, for their people, So,
yeah.
So let's talk about games, right? Jessica, we're going to play a game, right? And this is another game. This is another tool that I use for breaking down barriers and creating engagement. And Michael, this is one of the first things that's in my lessons plan, and I'll ask you to try it in your organization and then send us an email and let us know if it works. Of course, if anybody else tries it, I'd like to know as well, right? So first game is rock, scissors, paper, right? Everybody know rock, scissors, paper, right? Right? You go 1, 2, 3, shoot, right? And then you do like rocks, right? Here you go, rocks, scissors, paper, okay? So if you have somebody next to you, you can play. And if you are by yourself, but you can see my webcam, you're going to play with me. And I want you to see how many times, right? I want you to count how many times you win, right? So that's it. I'm going to play 10 games of rock, scissors, paper. You ready, Jess?
Let's do it.
All right, ready? Right. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Okay, that's one. And you count, right? 1, 2, 3, shoot. All right, that's it. Right? 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. How many times, Ed?
4.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
5.
All right. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
6.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
7.
Right? 1, 2, 3, shoot.
8.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
9.
1, 2, 3,
10.
shoot. All right. All right. So I think we probably tied more on that, but I'm not sure exactly who won. I might have seen 4 in there, right? Right.
You're at 41 minutes.
I think you won, yeah, at least 4, and I only won 2.
Yeah. Okay. So now this is a game of competition, right? And ultimately, one of us wins and one of us loses. All right. So, but if we look at Tiger Fireworks Hello, it's a version of the game. It still has a 1, 2, 3 component to it, Jessica. But now the next part of this is Tiger, which is rawr, right? Fireworks, boom, and hello, hello, right? And the idea is for us to match, okay? So again, if you're playing at home, it's 1, 2, 3, Tiger, rawr, fireworks, boom, hello, right? And the idea is to match. You have to play 10. We have to play 10 rounds.
Do 5.
All right, we'll do 5 because Ed's telling me I'm a couple minutes over. All right, we're gonna do 5. Okay, and begin. And again, if you're playing at home, you can play with me against me, and then we'll see how we're doing. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
1.
Right? 1, 2, 3. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Boom. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Right. 1, 2, 3. All right. So the difference in that game, it's collaboration, right? And now we feel good when we match up, right? So that's the difference in this. I think a lot of times, Michael, we set up environments that are about competition, right? And it's not clear that that environment is around collaboration. And that's what's one of the things I think that you guys have done good, Jessica, is setting up things where it comes off as more of a collaborative type of thing. Now, we can't understand what every client is doing with the platform, but it makes a difference. And these are the things like these silly games, right? In the 3 minutes we take out to it, it starts breaking down the barriers, man. Right now we're playing games together, right? I'm getting to know you a little bit better. I'm having fun with you, breaking down barrier, breaking it down. And then that's how you get to a safe place, okay? There's some other things you can do too, which we're gonna walk you through quickly. Those data points that I shared with you in that class, and why that class worked is because I had something to measure that stuff with. It was called a creative profile. It's basically a journaling tool that looks at these different aspects that I think is important to understand about the people. And again, those of you who are thinking about clicking off, listen, stay with me the rest of this time. I'm gonna get you through this stuff because this is the stuff you have to look at. It is this complex. This stuff is not easy to get people to do all these tricks, but there are ways to get them there. So we have to look at what's their motivation, their curiosity, management of fear and stress, their ability to make connections, to break connections, creative self-evaluation, self-confidence, their ability to innovate. And I think it's important to look at the quantitative and the qualitative on this. And I'll give you, for instance, like on motivation, right? One of the things I'm concerned about in looking people is, what's your motivation? Like, how motivated are you? You know, you can use a scale of 1 to 10. You can use a Likert scale that says somewhat motivated, neither motivated, really motivated, some way that I know, where are you today, right? And then I want to know what's your motivation. Things like, are you intrinsically motivated? Like, are you motivated by passion and by belief, right? I just want to help people. Or are you extrinsically motivated? I need money. I'm here for, because I want to control things. And being okay about talking about this stuff, right? Because everybody understands you want to help people and you're just a good person and you're super kind. But a lot of times people don't want to tell you that they're here for the money, right? But what if I told you that this person came from a rough childhood and their parents were really poor, or you have somebody that's sick, and that money makes that those problems go away? Then doesn't that change the way that we look at people, like why you're focused on making money? I think that it does. So understanding these different facets about, motivation helps me understand why you're here and the types of people I should be putting together with other types of people. I look at things like curiosity, same thing. Do you allow yourself time to explore interests? Do you learn daily? Do you have fun learning about new things? And I'm not looking for you to necessarily literally answer these questions. It's a direction that says, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Like, we even use just like a journaling app, Jess, where the people can write it down. And then at those weeks 8 and 16, we revisit it and we track what changes that they make, right? I'm stronger here. I feel better about this stuff here. And this stuff, even about fear and stress. Yeah. This is how do you handle fear and stress, right? Because if they can't handle it, then they're not likely to put themselves in a situation where they're up for ridicule, or, again, depending on culture and, and for false rewards and not meeting expectations, stuff like that. I've seen this question from Jordan. Maybe it's how we define creativity, such as an alternative solution viewpoint or adaptation to someone's proposal. I think let's hold on to that one for a minute. So these things on this creative profile are all important. We always do custom ones coming in an environment because everybody's a little bit of a different. But this is one of the things that everybody I would use. I would want to know who I'm inviting this. And I know when you're inviting 1,000 people, you can't. But ultimately, that leaderboard says there's a subset of people that I think are really engaged and I want to do something with them. That's probably where I would start bringing that creative profile in. And then when I'm moving people out of that, I'm organizing teams and doing projects, I probably want to get into it at this point, right? But this is how I was able to track. Okay. So to wrap this section up, right, you got to, around creativity, start with the person. Right? Build better teams, measure what you do, share the results, and repeat. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. I've done it in my class. I'm sure that you could do it in your organization. Jess, I'm going to keep going through here so we can get everybody out here in a reasonable time.
Sure.
I was telling Ed we're gonna 10:51, so we'll see if I can get my true out and win the idea guy pool today as we get people through innovation, because this is the important part, right? This is where I want to tie creativity to innovation, to understand that relationship about why you can't do one without the other, right? So what to me in understanding innovation, I think it's important for you to understand what it is, right? And innovation is an iterative process, right? What it is not is a purchase plan for results, right? Just because you bought the platform doesn't mean magic's going to happen out the other end of it. Remember, creativity generates the idea. Innovation does something with it, okay? So whether you're using a process like my innovation funnel, right? The trick is that you have to get people through a structured process, and it's your job usually to facilitate that process. This thing has to happen first. This thing has to happen second. This thing has to happen third. This thing has to happen fourth, right? And at the top, you're going to have a bunch of people, and then you're going to lose people along the way. And then, but you're going to make ideas come out at the very bottom, right? Just like we do an idea scale, right? So idea scale, the funnel looks like this, and we can customize these funnels, right? We know that we can do this kind of stuff, right? So it's about putting that right thinking in. What do I have to facilitate in order for my innovation process to succeed, right? So this is that relationship that I want you to kind of understand. The more people that you get, the more ideas that you have, right? Just like as I'm showing in my funnel here, the more people that you put on the top of your funnel, the more ideas that are going to come out, right? The more people that you put in the top of this funnel, the more ideas that are going to come out. Did I stress that enough, Jess? Now, the better the ideas,
I think that's a good point.
the better the ideas, the better the support, the better the support, the better the result, the better the result, the better the chance for adoption. The more ideas get implemented, the greater the impact, the greater the budget. So this is where this stuff starts fulfilling itself, right? If you can prove, most of us have gotten investments from people to say, hey, if you give me this, I can make magic happen at the company, right? But this is that chain that you got to connect all these different results. And when you do connect it, this is what comes to be systemic creativity, right? A series of events and activities that are repeated within an organization that identifies problems, generates ideas, and evaluates solutions over time, right? And over time is what we see like this in the design value index, right? This is what happens to companies that become, that use design thinking, creativity, innovation over time. Right? This is from the Design Value Index. It measures companies in the S&P over a 10-year period. And you wonder why Apple, Coke, Ford, IBM, Intuit, Nike, P&G, Starbucks, you wonder why they're awesome? It's because they do this stuff. And what's the result? They outperform their competitors by 228%. Here's the business reason why this is important. Right? This stuff works. So that challenge for you on idea scale, it's a real challenge, right? And Jess, I think these were some of the stats that, had really got me engaged, understanding of where we can add value. It's, registration, 90% of the people don't accept that invitation when it comes out, right? And it's why. It's right because most people don't feel confident in their ability, right? I think in a lot of organizations that they get that thing, and I think they either get frightened, like, oh my God, I got to be creative. I'll just ignore it. They won't ask me again. Right? Or, oh, that's not my job. They must have sent it to the wrong person, right? I think there is a ton of stuff we can do around getting more people to accept that invitation to your challenge, right? 67%, right? So 33% submit ideas. That means 67% don't, right? These people have ideas, but again, why aren't they? They don't have that creative confidence. We can affect that number. And then why aren't people collaborating like they could? Again, there's culture issues. Why aren't people raising their hand? And to your point, Jordan, maybe it is how we're defining creativity, right? Maybe we're saying, maybe we shouldn't say creativity is by job title, creativity is by culture. We are an innovative company, right? All these other things that we hear from companies saying, maybe we need to say more of that stuff, right? You need to understand who are the people involved? What do we have to accomplish? How do we know if we're going to accomplish our goal? And ultimately, what's in it for me, right? And we do that by creating a problem statement.
You're at 52.
Thank you. Right? The problem statement is an actionable statement that creates engagement. And it's a simple, how might we help who, do what, achieve what goal? And then so when we get those basic mechanics down, we need to add some fire to it, right? Add a little marketing, add a little branding. Give me a reason why I care in order to get engaged in your process. And I have to be able to demonstrate the process, right? You have to tell me where's the beginning, where's the middle, and the end, right? It's particularly if I'm an exec that's got to fund this thing or allocate budgets toward this thing. How are you going to get there? Because nobody's going to put budget out without understanding how you're going to get how you're going to solve this problem, right? And when you get into a project plan, you are going to have to get down in the weeds and say, this is how I'm going to create my plan, right? A Gantt chart, just like everybody already does for other projects, that's going to show, and this is how I'm going to get there. This is how I'm going to stay on schedule, because this is manageable, right? Now, this is something about creating awareness, right? And this is another money shot. And this is probably what most of your audience doesn't know, Jess. Being in the agency business for 30 years this May, 1 in 3 messages that companies send to people are received. On the average, it takes 9 points of contact to create that action. Sign up, call now, step right up, show us, whatever. So that means you need 27 points of contact. So where are yours? Those of you who are trying to get people into your funnel, where are your 27 points of contact, right? And then you got to look at different ways: branding, marketing, advertising, design, internet, social, you have different ways that you can do that, but you have to put it together in some kind of orchestrated plan, or it's a hodgepodgey type of stuff. Like, so this is a plan that we create that just shows we're doing these things on which day. And I can tell you where we're going to get our 27 each month in order to get people through this process, right? So you have engagement issues, right? When you're trying to get people to engage, they have to know, so I bring a lot of consumer mentality to the problems we solve, Jessica, because people are still consumers, even if it's internal, right? What's the product? What are you trying to sell me? Who are the prospective? You have to know who are the prospective participants, what's in it for them, and what's the value prop? Like, why do I care, right? And you break down personas. We look at all this type of data within
Totally.
organizations to understand the people involved. And we're talking demographics, psychographics, right? This is all stuff you have to know. If you do the pre-work, then the rest becomes easy, right? You need to be able to have worksheets, be able to do moderation, and pay attention to your dashboard. This is one of the best tools that I have, Jessica, for understanding how we're doing, right? And although this is the dashboard in the back of Idea Scale, and we want to know how are we doing, and we want to monitor this stuff real time, right? And it's very helpful for us to see that floating Idea Scale metric to understand how we're doing compared to other challenges, right? I like that objectivity because then I can go to my clients and prove to them not only are we meeting standards, but we're exceeding standards of where everybody else is, right? And this is why people are working with us instead of trying to do it on their own. The other thing I think is critical is like the leaderboard, right? Because you know what this teaches you? There's a difference between signing up and leaning in, right? And within organizations, I get people who sign up for stuff all the day, right? So they get like the participation trophy. Well, man, there's no participation trophies, right? I want to know who's leaning in, right? So this is critical data to have for your business, right? And then it leads to retention, right? You need to be able to meet the expectations you set for people. You need to recognize those people that are performing, and you need to reward them publicly throughout the organization to prove that your culture is different, right? That you're doing stuff, however you want to. Even if on a go-to meeting, you jump on there and do something, right? And then pay attention to that reporting. Share stories about what you're doing. Point we want to make, where the story begins, the complication, what changed, and the end of the story. So you really want to present a path for people to participate. Invite everyone. Manage the process. Build on what you learn, and repeat. And that is the end of that presentation. I'm at 56. All right. I think Jess won so far. So, does that stuff all make sense, Jess? Yeah.
I think so. I think the other thing I would say about the systemic creativity is that not only does it get results, but it's like this virtuous cycle that also breeds engagement. The more you can deliver, the more people are going to want to participate in the process and take that risk.
Yeah. So we do have something we want to kind of offer everybody, right? Because everybody's like jazzed up. Now what do I do about it, right? Well, as you know, we've been working on a pilot program for Idea Scale partners, for Idea Scale clients to impact their innovation, right? And as we see it, as users of the platform, and by people who help people use the platform, right? We know we can increase employee creativity. We know that we can increase registration. we know that we can increase ideas submitted, the comments, and the votes, right? This helps demonstrate that ROI that we see in the Idea Scale platform from clients who have figured out how to best use it within their organization. So we've got, I think as of this morning, what do we, I think we have 4 slots left in the pilot. We can come into your environment, assess your current environment and your people and your process, design a problem statement that solves your problems, execute the program, means monitoring, moderating, managing it through the whole thing with you, and then help you share a story about what we learned. And then we see what comes from that. But, you know, I think a lot of times, Jessica, people are either too close to their own problem, they need a little objectivity, or, you know, they just need to expand their team and bring in some other people that can help do things that they've got much more experience about. You know, just like your team, your support team, and Greta has been great in helping us onboard on the platform and learn from what other people. It was invaluable, right? So that's what we're trying to be able to do, right? You know, and that's what a good partner does. You know, we're trying to come in and add value and to share what we know in order to help people meet their goals. So if anybody is interested in learning more about this, please reach out to Jessica or myself. We'll be starting, I think we've got meetings through the 15th or something like that. And we're trying to figure out who's going to be in our first cohort. So I'm very excited about this potential, Jessica, and what we're going to be able to do together.
Yeah, me too. It'll be interesting to see what problems we can help solve.
Yeah, that's what we've got all today. I hope you had a little fun. Did you learn anything new today, Jessica?
I mean, I definitely did. I think all of the drawing exercises are a really fun way to share some vulnerability and be creative.
Yeah. Well, I thank everybody for playing my games, and I look forward to seeing everybody sooner than later at some of our other events. And if you ever have a question, please reach out to the Idea Guy.
Thanks, everybody. We'll be sending out a link to this recording soon, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Check out the chats.
Yeah, man, nice banter in the chats. Do 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 do.